So this is the part 2 of my previous video. Please go back and watch that video, and it'll make a lot more sense if you haven't watched it. But I'm just going to move on here. So one other player here that I looked up was D'Angelo Russell. I just thought it was interesting that D'Angelo Russell is also a teenager in the NBA, and he plays for the Lakers, and he was born on 2/23, just like Flip Saunders, just like Andrew Wiggins. There's also a player from Philadelphia, Jahlil Okafor. Interesting, his name in gematria even adds up to 55. I talked about how somehow it all leads back to Philadelphia. Pope Francis went to Philadelphia as the last place he went when he came here. Literally, it's in the book of Revelation. It used to be the capital of Jordan until the year 106 AD. Made tons of videos on that, but Minneapolis adds up to 55, just like Timberwolves, just like Target Center. And also, 1960 was 55 years ago, and 1955 was 60 years ago. They're mirrored years. You had Flip Saunders, who died at the age of 60. Daryl Dawkins adds up to 60. Moses Malone died at the age of 60. I also have health reasons written in here, and health reasons adds up to 50. And also Satan, but the reason I wrote health reasons is because of the Minnesota Golden Gophers football team. This guy right here just retired due to health reasons. And it's just very interesting. I mean, so Flip Saunders dies. He's the Minnesota Timberwolves coach, and then the head coach of the Minnesota Golden Gophers 3 days later retires because of health reasons. His last name even has Kill in it. It seems kind of strange. Of course, he's 54 years old. I just talked about how 2/23, February 23rd, is literally the 54th day of the year. So 54 even ties in with Flip Saunders and the Synagogue of Satan and the Valentine's theme and love and whatnot. Also, I mean, doesn't have to mean much, but him and Kobe Bryant do share the same birthday. But as I was reading through here, you find out that he was the coach, and back in 2013, he announced October 10th, 2013, he had to take a leave of absence for epilepsy treatment. But the reason that he took that leave of absence here, so this is the guy who replaced him, but it says Kill missed parts of 3 games in his first 3 years at Minnesota, so even a 33 reference, but so he missed part of 3 games in his first 3 years, and for the entire game when Kill had a seizure before a game at Michigan in 2013. So interesting, it was Michigan, the Wolverines, and then, yeah, he misses a whole game, or has a seizure right before and misses the whole game versus Michigan on October 5th of 2013. And then he announces his retirement before the Michigan game this year in 2015. And it was actually on October 28th, October 5th, 2013 to, well, I'll just do it in here real quick. October 5th, 2013 to the day that he retired this year is a span of 2 years, 23 days, like the Synagogue of Satan, like Flip Saunders' birthday, like Andrew Wiggins' birthday, like the 223rd day of the year when Flip Saunders announced that he had cancer. Also, look at the score here in 2013. It was 42-13. Minnesota won. I've talked about how Lupercalia, it goes from February 13th to the 15th. So it's 2/13, 2/14, and 2/15. In 2013, if you take out the 0, it's literally 2/13. 2014 would be 2/14. 2015 would be 2/15. And I talked about how I think after 2013, 2014, they were sacrificing the wolf, and now this year they're going to start to celebrate the wolf. Interesting, Michigan started off with such a great start and whatnot. We'll see what happens, but look at the score here. Minnesota beat Michigan this year too, so they literally sacrificed the wolf, and then Michigan won this year. But the score of 42-13 adds up to 55, like I just talked about. And then this year, on Halloween, when they played, it was 29-26, which also adds up to 55. Another interesting thing to point out, so this guy, however you say that, Clays or whatever, for one, it just seems kind of weird. This guy, literally, his last name was like that, and then he was born and raised in Clay Center, Kansas. Just seems kind of strange, but whatever. But it says that he was an assistant coach for Minnesota head coach Jerry Kill for 21 years at all of these places. So that means that Jerry Kill coached for 21 years. This guy was with him all 21 years. Remember, I said Flip Saunders began coaching the Minnesota Timberwolves on the 21st game of Kevin Garnett's rookie season, and he was number 21. Kevin Garnett played in Minnesota for 12 seasons before leaving. Also, the guy was born on December 25th, so Christmas Day. I know a lot of people are born on Christmas Day, but it just seems kind of weird. Especially when you've been doing this type of research, and there's always like a significant day with a lot of these people. Also, look at this. Minnesota is the 12th largest state in area and the 21st most populous, the 12 and the 21 again. Nearly 60% of its residents live in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And while I'm on that, I wanted to show, this is the guy who replaced Flip Saunders, Samuel Mitchell. Look at his name in gematria, Samuel Mitchell. Adds up to 54. Like I said, Flip Saunders was born on the 54th day of the year. It all ties back into Valentine's and everything. Also, he was the 54th pick in the draft when he played. And it says he spent his first 3 seasons with the Timberwolves. During his playing days in Minneapolis, he scored a career-high 37 points against none other than the Philadelphia 76ers. Interesting, he's 52 years old as well. The 52nd prime is 239. The United States has been a country for 239 years. It will be 240 on July 4th of next year. But I just looked up to see when the Timberwolves play the Philadelphia 76ers this year. A pretty interesting day. The first time, they only play them 2 times as far as I can see here. First time is November 23rd. Very interesting day because we've talked about the Roman calendar. Actually, novum means 9. So November 23rd could technically be 9/23 as well. 9/23 is a huge significant day this year. Pope Francis came to America on his 923rd day as Pope. The second day he was here was 9/23. That's the 266th day of the year. He's the 266th Pope. He arrived at the White House on 9/23 at 9:23 a.m. Tons of other stuff even written as a date. 9/23 and 2/39 are the same. And then they play him again on January 4th, 1/4 or 4/1. Interesting. I've talked about the Synagogue of Satan and Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones adds up to 41. But who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. A few other things I noticed. So Minnesota Golden Gophers, they play at TCF Bank Stadium. Look at the capacity it says it is. 52,525. What an interesting number they would make the capacity to be. I mean, 52, 52, 52, 52. I mean, come on. It's craziness. Even says this stadium is the first new Big Ten football stadium constructed since 1960. Go figure. And that was Penn State's Beaver Stadium. I've talked about the Penn State connection to Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska adds up to 60. Abraham Lincoln adds up to 60. They've been running a domestic violence type theme all year in the media. It's just amazing how all of these things actually are just interweaved together. But look at the location even. Look at the zip code or whatever for Minneapolis. 55,455. Just an interesting number. I've talked about the 54s and the 55s and the 45s and whatnot. So, and look, TCF Bank Stadium adds up to 45 even. What are the odds of that? Also 144, another number we've talked about tons of times associated with many things. The 144th prime is 827. 827 is the 239th day of the year. If you add up the last 144 digits of pi after the decimal, adds to 666. Mark of the beast even adds up to 144. 44, April 4th, they all add up to 144. The first president to die in office was on 4/4, April 4th, and is kind of like 44. Obama's the 44th president. He's 44 years younger than JFK, the 44th term president. Even ties into Queen Elizabeth II, who's 89 years old this year. On 8/9, there's 144 days left until the end of the year. Also, it's 12 times 12, the tribes of Israel, dealing with Moses. Moses and Abraham Lincoln both freed the slaves. Also, in regards to that, this is the Comcast Center in Philadelphia. It has the black cube on the top of it, which is what where the meeting place for the 12 tribes of Israel and the New Jerusalem is literally shaped like a cube. And they even show you in here that it's the base of New Jerusalem would have been equal to 144 million square stadia. Also interesting, Philadelphia is one of the 7 churches in Revelation. It even says the 7 churches that are in Asia. If you do Asia and Pythagorean gematria, A is 1, S is 1, I is 9, A is 1. It adds up to 12. Also, if with the S exception, it would be 21, kind of like the 12 and 21. And wouldn't you know, black cube adds up to 60. Also interesting, Minnesota Golden Gophers adds up to 111. Just makes me wonder, a lot of this stuff has been tied back into Pope Francis and Queen Elizabeth. The World Series was just won on 11/1. It was the 111th World Series. Tons of other 111s with it. Even the Cologne guy, Christian Cologne, hadn't batted in 41 games or 41 days, which is also 1 month and 11 days. But 11/1, there's 60 days left until the end of the year. Also, this year, 2016, will be a leap year. So 229 is the 60th day of the year. Pope Francis came to the United States on 9/22. That's also, 229 will also be 13 days before Pope Francis's 3rd anniversary as Pope. He became Pope on 3/13 of 2013. Also interesting to do with the number 13 then, if you do the conversion of Gregorian and Julian, the Julian calendar is 13 days before the Gregorian calendar. So 229 would literally be 216. Also, it would be 313. And 216, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. Obama was born on the 216th day of the year. Flip Saunders' full name adds up to 216. Kevin Maurice Garnett adds up to 216. 313, like I said, the day that he became Pope. Also interesting because in England or whatever, they write the date the backwards way, so they could be like this. Literally 162. Salvador Perez adds up to 162. Baseball plays 162 regular season games. Major League Baseball adds up to 162. I said that the Royals won, and it was all because Pope Francis caught that home run ball by Salvador Perez on 6/6 of 2015, which also is in numerology would be 666. And look at that, Pope Francis is the Antichrist in Gematria, is 133, kind of like the day that he became the Pope. I also thought of the Mighty Ducks because they actually play in Minneapolis. And I remember Goldberg says that he's moving back to Philly, but then he never moves back to Philly. The movie's 101 minutes long. It just reminded me of the bus crash. Also, the Oregon Ducks, and I made a video about how that all ties into the Oregon Ducks. Which, interesting, I talked about Teen Wolf and how it ties into Nebraska Cornhuskers and whatnot. But the Beaver mascot logo on the film was Oregon State University Beavers logo. Nebraska's coach Mike Riley actually came from here. I even talked about how it ties into the Mormons and whatnot. So anyway, I'm running out of time, so have a good night.